car makers invest more time and money in the development of electric cars, they're finding simple and clever ways that they can adjust certain things to get more miles out of their existing batteries. And that is exactly what Peugeot have done for their new generation of e-2008 and e-2008. They've made a few subtle tweaks that hopefully are going to make it more efficient. It's also increased the amount of miles that it can do by 8%. Now, the Peugeot e-2008 has a claimed range of 214. But are these efficiency changes enough? After all, the Peugeot e-2008 finds itself in a very competitive market of compact electric SUVs. You have things like the Hyundai Kona, the updated Kia Niro EV, and also the slightly cheaper MG ZS. And if you go for the long range, all of those vehicles have more miles than even the updated version of the Peugeot e-2008. So is it enough to keep buyers interested? Well, hopefully that's what we're going to find out in today's video. So if that sounds good, please keep watching. If you like electric car news and electric mobility, then here is the place to be. Make sure you subscribe to Electroheads. Just as before, the Peugeot continues to be powered by a 50 kilowatt-hour battery and a 100 kilowatt electric motor. For 2022, it's now capable of up to 214 miles from a single charge. So changes that have been made to this generation of Peugeot e-2008 are subtle, but hopefully they should make a big difference when it comes to efficiency. But let's quickly run through the 6 changes that have been made to this new generation. It now features a new heat pump, coupled with an interior humidity sensor installed at the top of the windscreen. This optimises energy efficiency of the heating and air conditioning. All cars fitted with the 17-inch wheels will now get A+ grade tyres. These give you a lower rolling resistance and in turn will hopefully help towards that ultimate goal of better efficiency. There has been a mechanical development to a new gearbox ratio, which has optimised the range on road and especially motorway journeys. It now gets the new generation of Stellantis gear selector, which is a much slimmer rocker switch. It's really easy to use as well, but you do have to remember that you have to have your foot on the brake as you rock up and down to select your gears. There's also buttons for your park and your braking mode as well. On top of all of this, you also get a very nice little carbon wrist rest, which is pretty nice. The regenerative braking mode, labelled B, remains active even after a push on the lever, without completely stopping the engine. There is no longer any need to engage with it again during a restart. It remains active and keeps the driver settings in memory. Both Active Premium and Allure Premium now get black diamond door mirrors, which look much smarter. This is something which was previously only reserved for the GT and GT Premium trim. There is no doubt that one of the reasons why the Peugeot has stayed so relevant in its small SUV market is its design. It looks super smart, and I think a lot of the time when it comes to small SUVs, the quirkier the better. A lot of the time they're family cars with small children, and those children love a car which is slightly animated, and I definitely think the Peugeot e-2008 ticks that box. You've got those lion fang daytime running lights on the front. It looks great. Now here's something very minor, but I find a little bit strange. On the smaller e-208, you actually get a slightly blue tinged front badge on the Peugeot. But on the larger e-2008, it's just the standard chrome one that you get on the petrol and diesel models. I think that's a little bit of a shame.
That's a damn shame.
The rear seats are not the biggest in its class. I'm pretty comfortable back here. I've got enough knee room, especially because these seats curve in slightly, and I've got a decent amount of headroom as well. But 6-foot people would struggle back here. The middle seat is also hard to use because of the transmission tunnel, with this being based on a combustion car. Anybody sitting in the middle will have to have their knees on their chin.
Okay.
And that's an extra shame because there's no centre armrest either. I can usually forgive it if there's a non-usable middle seat, but a good armrest. So it's a shame that that's missing. There is, however, 2 USB charge ports, which is super handy, and you've also got the ISOFIX fitments, which are tucked behind zips, meaning that they won't get dirty and you won't lose any of the fitments. Around the back, again, you've got this very cool 3D light signature, and I also like the way there's this chrome part on the back bumper, so it's not going to get scratched up when you're lifting things in and out of the boot. Now the boot itself is actually pretty competitive. And inside you'll find 405 litres, which does come in below the Kia e-Niro and MG ZS EV, which both have around 70 litres more. But there's no compromise in space over the combustion 2008. And there is space for your charging cables under the floor, which comes height adjustable as standard. One thing I do find is this boot lid is really quite heavy if you don't have the electric one. Inside here is where the Peugeot wins the heart of its customers. It's a really smart cabin. This isn't the top spec model, but I've still got some very nice leather edged seats, which have got some nice electric blue stitching as well. It feels pretty fancy. You've got a nice center console. It is gloss black, which isn't everybody's preference because of scratching. But then again, find me a cabin which doesn't have gloss black nowadays. It's become a bit of a problem.
But what are you going to do?
You've also got an average amount of storage. I've got a nice sized door bin. It fits a big bottle of water if I squeeze it.
Don't push it, because you know what'll happen.
I've got a little bit of storage in the armrest as well, although it's not the biggest. 2 cup holders up the front here, somewhere that you can pop your mobile phone. And my favourite thing on Peugeots, which I've mentioned before, you've got this little pop-out area here which reveals some more storage, your wireless phone charging on the higher spec models, and it also has a little shelf where you can pop your mobile phone. I really like that. The screen is really clear. It's not the easiest to use. Again, 3 fingers and that will take you to the home screen to access everything you want. But there is a couple of things I do want, which I can't access. For one, satellite navigation. It's a little bit of a shame that on this model, which is around the entry level, it doesn't get a sat nav. Although that's quite common nowadays, this is still a £35,000 plus car, so I would have liked one of those. Although it does get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, so I can't complain too much. The other thing that I cannot seem to find is my efficiency figures. I've looked and I've looked along the piano key buttons, which again, for one, these are really nice, but those are things like your climate control settings for your shortcuts. So where's my efficiency settings? Okay, so I go home. Again, I can't find any efficiency settings going into driving. You've got your driving functions, you've got your vehicle settings, but I can't find anything that's EV dedicated. And if I'm being silly and it's somewhere, then please will a Peugeot owner let me know.
Show me the
efficiency figures. Charging speeds have remained a strong point for Stellantis. The Peugeot e-2008, just like all of its stablemates, can accept up to 100 kilowatts of rapid charge, which is seriously handy if you're going on a road trip or if you're on a long journey, as that means you can get from 0 to 80% in as little as 35 minutes. Electric cars are quite regularly known for their instant torque and their rapid acceleration. The Peugeot e-2008 with 136 brake horsepower is definitely quick enough. However, it's not been built for performance. Its power delivery is much smoother. It's not going to throw you back in your seat. It's definitely there when you need it, especially if you pop it into the sport mode. But it's just much smoother and it's more of a relaxing drive rather than one that's going to turn the hairs up on the back of your neck. So have those efficiency changes now made the Peugeot better at holding its range? Well, it is hard to judge because it's not cold at the moment, and that's really where the biggest changes have been made, because previously when the weather dropped, so did the Peugeot's range, and very rapidly. However, I have been having the aircon on full, and actually I've been driving this car in either the sport mode or the normal mode, and it's been coping really well. Rather than before, when you'd see it drop a lot quicker than it was actually telling you in front of you, it seems to be far more accurate. I've actually done 377 miles during my time of having the Peugeot, and I'm seeing a mile per kilowatt of 3.6 to 3.7, which is far better than I've ever had in any previous Stellantis product. The electric version of the 2008 is actually 350 kilograms heavier than the petrol and diesel models, and I was worried that that would mean it would be thrashy and crashy, but actually it's kind of the opposite. It's plushy, it's soft, it's really comfortable. It's exactly what you want from a family car. Yes, okay, there's not much feedback from the steering wheel, but at the end of the day, that's not really what this car was designed to do. And the Citroën EC4 is still more comfortable, but that's just Citroën's trump card. The Peugeot is very well balanced. Over the last year or so, I've spent quite a lot of time in the previous generation of Stellantis products, and I've not always had the most positive of experiences. But it's difficult to test the new E2008 in cold weather when we're currently having a heat wave. But having a heat wave poses its own problems. I've had the air conditioning on full, and I've been purposely not driving this car in efficiency mode to see how it copes. And it's been coping very well. I can confidently say that I think the changes that have been made have made a difference to that range. But is the new claimed 214 miles enough to compete with other small electric SUVs in the market? I think whether this car is relevant completely depends on what you want from your electric SUV. If you don't need to go too far, you want a quirky SUV with really smart interior and a nice comfortable place, then this poses a great option. But if you need something that's going to do closer to 300 miles, then maybe the Peugeot isn't for you. But let me know, what are the figures that you've been getting out of your existing Peugeot E2008? And would you still consider purchasing one of these cars? If not, are you going to go for one of its rivals? Let me know which one in the comments down below. If you've enjoyed the video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more electric car reviews and electric mobility news, then make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Until next time guys, see you later.